something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you? I'm sorry about the close or very quick close to last night's show. Tonight's show will explain a little bit more about that. And I need your help if you happen to be in the southeast Queensland area. Not so much me, pardon me, but a very good friend of the show needs a little help. So we'll get into that very shortly. Silver prices going back up again. Our Byron Bob's still here if you are interested. We have Byron Bob's in this magnificent little presentation pack. Vince has, I think, printed another 10. I've got to go to the post office and collect the new ones that he sent me. I believe that they'll be there tomorrow. So fingers crossed, I'll get there tomorrow and we'll post out the orders that we currently have. But if you are interested, folks, email me, carl@vofhq.com. The price of silver is going back up again from its low, let's call it. It had a bit of a crawlback, if that's what you want to call it, in the last couple of days. And right now it's sitting just under $73 at ainsleyBullion.com.au, $72.95. So it's been down into the 70s, and today it's showing, well, a little bit of strength coming back up. Why? Well, there is a lot of pressure being put on the silver market, and India, believe it or not, doing their bit to try and help with that as well. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Morning to, God, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Hello to Michelle Bradley Smith. What am I saying, Bailey? First in the house tonight. Something weird has happened with my, that might be what it is. There you go. I've changed that. Couldn't see everybody's chats there for a while. So, Michelle, lovely to have you in, and thank you for everything that you do as one of our mods. What the in the house? He's always on it, and I see him yo-ho-hoing and bottle of rumming, quite probably, in the not too distant future. If you don't understand that reference, we're going on a cruise, and what the, at his suggestion, instigated it all. So he's the bad boy amongst us, but he has booked his seat on the boat, and I think he's bringing someone with him. He's young bloke. I have booked mine. Have you booked yours? Connie and Alan have booked theirs. There's a few others who've booked theirs too. Not that Annette gives me a call at all, the lady from the cruise company. I have no idea whether you've booked or not. But if you want to, that is the number to give them a call on and ask for Annette. Now, the extension is very important because Annette lives in Fort Lauderdale. She works Australian hours, which is nice, but she works in Fort Lauderdale. So that extension will take you straight to her. You can dial that number, that 1300 number direct, and then the extension number. Or if you don't want to deal with her direct, you can go to a travel agent, just as what that did. And they followed the same directions. It all went through absolutely magnificently and very, very easily. So if you'd like to come on that cruise, which is May 4 to 8, up to Airlie Beach and back, you'll be able to go and check out Hamilton Island or Whitehaven Beach or that Love Heart bit of coral, or maybe you just want to go for a swim on the reef. If it's a nice enough day, you'll be able to go, well, I think they'll probably do it most days actually on the reef, but you'll be able to go snorkeling. And for those of you that have a little bit of daring do, you might be interested in going scuba diving, because there's a bit of that goes on there too. Silver Fox, hope you are well. What bad news. I saw further down in the chat that you cannot come on the cruise because in May it's spud picking season. Now, things have changed from the days when I was picking spuds. And yes, I used to pick spuds in Koroit in the Western District. And from memory, we used to pick those spuds in the lead up to Christmas. All the spuds would be out of the ground pretty much before Christmas. But sort of this time of year, late October, November, we'd be hauling them out of the ground from memory. And then when the spuds were done, we would go into hay and start baling that and stacking it and doing all those marvelous things for like 0.3 of a cent a bale, I think it was at one stage when I was lifting those. But May, apparently, 80% of your income comes out of potato contracting. And I have seen the fields that you contract to. They're very large. So we won't drag you away from your income. That would be bad, but I'm just surprised that that's in May is when the spuds are coming in. So how interesting. Hello, Margot. Hope you are well. The lovely Deb. I see there is an email from you, Deb. I haven't got to it yet. I will. Hello, Angie. Trust you are well. Spazar, mate, keep fighting the fight, brother. You're doing everything you possibly can, and you're doing a bloody great job. The gorgeous Rachel is in the house. Happy hump day. You got so desperate you went to a doctor a fortnight ago, prescribed you a B12 shot. Okay. No chemist near where you live prepared to give it to you. But, okay. But they're very happy to give the clot shot. Yes, they are. How very strange is that? Wonder why you've got to go to a chemist for a B12. Found one in Hobart by accident, finally kicked in 24 hours later and feel better than you have in weeks. Good on you. I'm pleased to hear that you're maybe on the mend there, Rach. That's bloody great news. J1, trust you are well, and life, the universe, and everything goes well. Rachel. 3i Atlas is doing some weird things, isn't it? I was listening to somebody a few weeks ago who was telling me exactly why it is doing all the things that a normal comet would do. Slow down, speed up. Apparently the slowing down has something to do with the nature of gravity as it gets within the pull of different objects in space and all that kind of thing. Very plausible. But it's really slowed down. And it doesn't seem to have a tail like comets of every other variety of comet do. A lot of questions being asked, and NASA aren't seemingly there to answer them, which is no real surprise. NASA stands for not a space agency, so they're more a photographic storytelling agency than anything else, I think. But NASA at the moment being very quiet about what's going on with the 3i Atlas. But rest assured, more news coming up on that in the next... Well, I think in November we'll hear a lot more news about it. And of course, in December, I think early December 7, it's due to be at its closest point here around Earth. I can imagine everybody with a P1000 will have it aimed at the skies. And everybody with a decent sort of telescope with a camera attached to it will probably be doing the same kind of thing. If I had a decent telescope, I know I would be. So keep an eye out for that. We will obviously get a communication from them, you would think, earlier if they're going to stop and call in and say hi. Whether or not we're going to be told about that communication, I guess probably not, if I'm honest. All right, let's get into some of the interesting things that are happening today. Now, Australia's electricity costs going up. Australia today has registered an increase in inflation. We're sitting at 3.2%, which is a lot higher than the 2 to 3% that was expected in the rise. Now, it's jumped 1.1%. It was 2.1, I think, last quarter. Jumped again. Now, what does this mean in real terms? Well, in real terms, it means that your electricity bill has gone up 23.5% this year alone. Now, we have that squeaking pig of a human being, Bowen, the climate crier in Parliament, telling us that this is all quite natural. Electricity costs going down, renewables are the way forward, and renewables are going to save us into the future. Well, let me just quote a few little things here. The real cost of electricity grew 9% over the September quarter. That's 9%. So write a few of these numbers down. That's on top of a rise of 8.1% in the June quarter. And those statistics come from the ABS, which on this occasion we choose to believe. Government rebates, which are largely responsible for those people who are still getting a relatively cheap electricity bill, are about to end. in many cases, they have already ended, which is why people's bills are going through the roof. So if you were silly enough to go and get your $1,000 rebate from the government in Queensland, I think it was, to go and put these solar panels on your roof and to, be involved with the renewables, it's all going to be a marvelous thing. Well, any rebate you were getting from that has now ended. That's the thing about these incentive buys that government give you. They turn them off and then you pay the real cost. And the real cost is coming to hit you, folks, big time. Now, these rebates play a significant role across Australia because so many tens of thousands of mums and dads rolled up and got them. They thought, oh, what a great deal, what a great deal, what a great deal. And they probably expected that there would be something to soften the blow at the time when these rebates came to an end. Well, there hasn't been, and there hasn't been because the governments can't rein in their own budgets. Now, they've got no hope. And to try and convince you that renewables are the way forward, they're going to keep telling you the lies. Now, as recently as Question Time, only a couple of days ago, Chris Bowen came out and said that Australians would have the cheapest energy because of renewables. Now, the ABS has suggested 4.2% of the quarterly price rise owed to households is because of the depleting of the different rebates that the state governments have been handing out. And they're different in every state. So it's $1,000 in Queensland. It's $400, I think, in Western Australia, $250 in Tasmania. In New South Wales, I think it's about $500, and in Victoria, I'd be surprised if they give you anything, but they may. Sydney, that's about to change as well. In fact, new laws have been instigated today by the Sydney Council, who died and gave them power for this kind of shit. But Sydney Council have now come out and made a law that says you cannot put gas into any new home being built in the CBD anymore. Liquid, natural gas, the gas that comes out of our ground naturally. One of our biggest exports, if not right up there with the biggest export, natural gas. Not in Sydney anymore, not going to be allowed to run gas appliances. That means no gas heating, no gas cooking, no gas anything, anywhere, anyhow. Instead, you'll get to rely on renewable energy. Holy shit. Well, Sydney's going to go dark, I would suggest. And there are so many very bad reasons for that, but as long as people keep listening to these lying bastards in government, how much longer do you listen to these and do nothing about it? How much longer can you listen to Albanese or Bowen tell lies about the renewables and what great savings we're going to have? We're going to have the cheapest electricity in years to come. But between now and then, we're going to have the most expensive. Now, Albanese has said in the past that he expects prices will drop 20% over the next 10 years. They've gone up 24% this year. So it won't matter if they drop 20% in 10 years, when Albanese says that's when the renewable benefits are going to kick in 10 years. It won't matter if they drop 20% in 10 years. They'll need to drop 500% to make it worthwhile. Now, I'm not great with numbers. We all know that. I'm sure there are better people than me watching this right now, and if not, you know someone better than me, who can do better numbers on this, and certainly better numbers than any friggin' government department can. We are being lied to directly to our faces by that snot of a fucking human being, Chris Bowen. I mean, fair income I've wiped better things off my ass than that prick. The lying, thieving little hound who will no doubt rest comfortably when he retires from politics in some comfy little job where he can still run around being a climate alarmist. These people need to be stopped, folks. And just saying, oh, well, what do we do about it, isn't good enough. These people are lying to our faces repeatedly, and we seem to be okay with that. Are you okay with that? Really? Okay, what do you do, I hear you say? Well, I'm not okay with it, but what can I do about it? I'm only one person. Well, start writing. Start writing to your local member, and if he's one of these climate criers, then start calling them out too. Start holding events in your town and area against these climate criers. And all you need is the figures. At best, Albanese is saying that we're going to get 20% less in our cost of electricity in 10 years' time. But it's gone up 24% this year alone so far. Do you think it won't go up the same next year when more rebates end? It'll go up another 30, 40, 50% before the end of 2026-27 financial year, guaranteed. By then, none of us will care because we won't be able to afford it. Anybody who is living off the government tit, and that doesn't mean you've got to be on the dole, nearly 80% of this nation owes its living to the friggin' government. I guess that's a good way to stop you resisting, isn't it? Because you've got your government job, you've got your government pension. All you've got to do is turn a blind eye to the absolute fuckery and bullshit that the government do, and you, being a worker for them, facilitate. How does our country win? How do we, the people, get a win when 80% of the people employed by the government are not likely to ever rock the boat? This has been a design of governments around the world, particularly the leftard communist bastards that we have been inflicted with here and in many other countries around the world. This is what they do. They engineer a socialist state. They engineer a state dependent on the state. Whether that be for your actual work, or if you weren't smart enough to get the government job, or you're too smart to take a government job, or you're just not able, like me, to function in any kind of a government job, then you'll probably wind up taking the dole, which would make you equally as reticent. Take the dole, take the pension, take whatever the government are going to give you. And that's what they're driving us all to, because they'll happily give it. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And this is how they drive us to it, folks. So what do? How do you fight back? Well, you don't let them get away with shit like saying, oh, in 20 years' time, you're going to pay 20% less for your energy. Like, fuck. In 10 years' time, you're going to be paying 300% more than you are paying now, and there will be no discount. All you'll have to be worried about in 10 or 15 or 20 years' time is what those farmers are doing to try and pull down those wind turbines, what they're going to do with them. How do they get that shit out of their ground? And how do we start growing food again in the places where these wind farms have sprung up instead of cattle or sheep farms? And yes, I know there are plenty of farmers out there who have accepted the corporate dollar, and rather than planting a crop, they've planted big fans in their paddocks for big dollars, big dollars. I gather that those people who own those properties probably aren't long-term, multi-generational farmers. And if they are, then this generation is sick and tired of it and wants out. And they don't really care. They're happy to take the money and run. That's a sad indictment, but they've made farming such a difficult practice here in this country that I'm not really surprised. They give the farmers plenty of incentive not to grow cows or sheep, but to grow wind turbines or solar panel farms, which I have to say about the most disgusting thing I've ever seen on the side of a road. Acres and acres and acres and acres of solar panel. Absolutely disgusting. And supplies enough power to run maybe a shearing shed for half a day. Where is the economy in that? Where is the intelligence in that? There is no intelligence. There is no economy. There is just graft and corruption. That's all. From government all the way through. Graft and friggin' corruption. I'm sick and tired of these governments. Successive, doesn't matter what flavour they are. I'm just sick and tired of them treating us like we don't exist. And then they gaslight us by telling us lies about how much things are going to be improved in the near future, while ramming the prices up, bending us over, and splitting us so hard our front teeth are falling out. We're all getting to a point where we're going to push back. And unless government pulls back, that pushback is going to be severe. Very severe. This government, this corrupt, foreign-owned corporation, is trying to kill us, kill off everything we love, destroy our culture, and merge us into a nothing state of nameless, shapeless, colourless people who do what they're told. I, for one, will not play that game. And we are rapidly approaching the time where this game is going to be foisted upon us. Do not play that game. Patriot. Interesting, you put a battery in, solar, you're effectively off the grid. Yip-yah, that's great. What happens when you get 4 days rain? I was recently living on a property that had a $150,000 solar system on it, big batteries, all that kind of thing. We live in southeast Queensland, rains for 4 days, no power. No power. 4 overcast days, $150,000 system, 4 overcast days, no power. Now, there was a bit of drain on it, admittedly. So maybe if it didn't have a couple of big items that were draining, maybe 6 or 8 days. But I've been in Queensland where we haven't seen the sun much for 3 weeks at certain times of the year. This is no solution, folks. And I think we know that. The problem is we keep letting the government do whatever they like. And I guess they're a foreign-owned corporation. They can do whatever they like because the people of this country haven't woken up to the fact yet that they're being lied to, turned into slaves, turned into lemmings. It's incredibly sad. Incredibly sad. Now there's warnings coming out about the global warming of climate change, how the climate is changing. Most definitely it is changing. Near as I can tell, climate has changed pretty much every year I've been alive. It now seems to be changing rather more rapidly, but that has more to do with what they're spraying into our atmosphere and then using all sorts of energy weapons to excite in our atmosphere than it has to do with anything else. We're being poisoned from above. We're being dimmed from above. And, of course, the climate criers would have you believe that if it's not heating up, then the world is getting cold. And it'd only take a degree either way, and we're all dead. The polar bears will be getting a suntan. It'll be awful. It's fucking lies. And these people need to be stopped from telling them, or they need to be held account. I am sick to death of listening to these whining green fucks who know nothing except how to scare, except how to gather brown paper bags, except how to rot the friggin' system and defraud us. The only good thing about these people is, thank fuck there'll be trees left to hang them from, because they will have been protecting them. You climate scarers, the time is coming. The time is coming. Their trees won't be bloody tall enough. There'll be so many swinging from it. But it's you who've got to do something about it. Listening to me rail about it isn't going to help you. We need to get behind blokes like Wade from Billboard Battalion. Get behind the farmers who do have a brain and are actually growing things that will feed the nation rather than drive it fucking broke with electricity bills. I'd love to have a conversation with a farmer who's growing wind turbines on his property rather than food. I'd really like to have that conversation. But I fear those farmers are too weak, too gutless, and certainly have no intestinal fortitude to stand up to what being a farmer really is, which is hard work, I know. You weak individuals. Don't get me started on internationals. Other countries buying our land and doing what they like on it. We have a communist in charge here, folks. We have a whole party of communists in charge here. Of course they're inviting China in. Of course they're letting China buy up as much land as they like. In fact, the only bit of land that they don't want China to buy is the port of Darwin, which America has put a huge amount of pressure on that fuckwit Albanese in his Joy Division T-shirt, the one he didn't want you and I to see wearing. And in fact, he asked the media not to photograph him while he was walking down the steps in his Joy Division T-shirt. You know why that is? Because he was made to wear it. And what's the Joy Division all about? Well, it was a 90s band, sure, but the Joy Division was the Jewish women who were put to work as prostitutes inside the concentration camps for the Nazis. And the Nazis called them the Joy Division. That's where the name came from. Now, why would Albanese be made to wear on his trip back from America, where he just apparently had a very successful meeting with Donald John Trump? Why would he be wearing that T-shirt on the way back? For the connotations of it, of course. Folks, communism is real and it has to be stopped. I don't know if you've ever been to a communist country, but I can tell you I have. I've been to East Germany. It didn't get much more communist than that unless you went to Russia. But East Germany, I shit you not, was like living in black and white. Cobblestones. Fighting for food scraps. Fighting for everything. Or waiting for it. More commonly, because they never had enough of it to go around. Starting to sound familiar? We're being driven there now, aren't we? There's not enough of a lot of things to go around in Australia anymore. A lot of things are much harder to come by. And yet, somehow or other, and I can't blame the people of this country because I seriously don't believe we're stupid enough to vote for them. The vote is rigged. But these people get back in. and it doesn't matter which lot get in, the foreign-owned corporation is here to screw us all. Doesn't matter what flavour it wears. And while there's talk of one nation coming together and bringing the conservative parties together, giving them a much stronger voice, is something that I, broadly speaking, hope happens. I have absolutely no faith that their little organisation, if not already done so, then will be corrupted by the foreign influence that holds sway over that building in Canberra. That building that isn't our house. It's their house. That building where the Australian flag doesn't touch Australian soil. That's their house. That's not ours. And the sooner you, your next door neighbour, his mate, her girlfriend, and all their friends wake up to it, the sooner we'll be in a position to do something about it. Are you in a position to educate those people? Because not all of them watch me. I'd love it if they did, but they don't. But the ones you can get to and talk to, but I'm sure you've done that. I'm sure you have. We all have. And I'm sure you've come to the realization there are many excuses. But I think the biggest problem we have in bringing this corrupt, foreign-owned fraud to a close is the fact that Australians are just too apathetic and don't give a shit. And that scares me, because where does that leave you and I? That leaves you and I going to jail for what we believe. That leaves you and I doing desperate things. That leaves you and I fighting the fight on behalf of all Australians that most Australians are too fucking lazy to bother learning about, let alone lift up a finger and do anything about. And I find that pretty sad. It might be because of the jab, because God knows it's dumbed down a lot of people. But if you took the jab, you were already pretty fucking dumb. Or cocksure of yourself. And so damn sure that people like me and you were so wrong. Mentally retarded wrong. Stupid. Oh, I thought you were smarter than that. You remember the people who said that to you? Oh, gee, I always thought you were more intelligent. Didn't think you'd believe something like that. They don't take it real well when you spin the same argument back on them to say, oh, gee, I thought you were smarter than that. I thought you saw the IQ test in front of you. But sadly, you can't educate people who can't see the IQ test. Why? Because they're not fucking smart enough. It's that simple. It's sad, but it's simple. If you swallowed the bullshit, then you do not understand what the word discernment means, let alone how to spell it or how to action it. Even with the benefit of hindsight, even with all the truth coming out about the jab now and just how right we were, many of these people just, oh, well. Or they don't want to talk about it because it scares them. Well, it fucking scares me too. It scares me about how stupid these people were, and now how apathetic they're just going to lie down and die. No, fight back, you weak pricks. Get up and argue. Get up and fight. Don't lay down and die. I won't respect you. None of us will respect you if you just say, oh, well, I got my jab and now I'm just going to la, 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 la. I'm not going to believe it's me. Regain some respect. Come and fight with the people who have been fighting for you for the last 5 years. The ones you've ridiculed. The ones you've insulted. The ones you've abused and beaten. We're still here. And a great many of us are still offering to help you, though for the life of me, I don't understand why. I guess it's because God says we should forgive. Turn the other cheek. Well, our cheeks have been turned. The olive branch has been offered. It now takes just a modicum, only a tiny amount of testicular fortitude to stand up and join us. And okay, there are many of you that don't have testicles. Well, ovary fortitude then. We need you people to get angry about what's been done to you, because we seem to be more angry and upset about what's been done to you than you are. And quite frankly, I'm getting bored with that. There seems to be no point in worrying about imbeciles who can't be worried about themselves. So prove to me you're not a fucking imbecile. Prove to me you can use logic. Prove to me you can understand and utilize discernment in an argument. Prove to me, instead of losing half a brain, you've grown one since the jab. It's not over yet, folks. There's a lot more of you going to die. In the next 2 years, there'll be more deaths than there have been in the last 2. A lot more, globally. You'll notice the world media isn't talking about it. Those deaths are happening now. Those reports are being written now. Those reports are being read in parliaments all around the world now. And in some cases, those lying, deceitful, underhanded medical murderers responsible for our health organizations and departments in Australia and around the world, well, they know what they've done, and they know, we know, and they should know we're coming for them. They will be made accountable. The only way they won't be is if they took their own jab and the bastards die before we get to them. In which case, all of their government benefits, all of their long service, all of their bribes that they've been handed over the years should be taken from them. Posthumously. No golden handshake for you or your family, if there's any of them left. I'm sick to death of this bloody shit going on and listening to these whining bastards in Parliament tell us lies on a daily basis with an unquestioning media and what appears to be, apart from a small group of us, an unquestioning public. They just nod their heads and say, oh, yeah. So my power's going to go up another 25% in the next 8 to 10 months, is it? Okay. Geo, what happens if I lose my job? And all the while, they've got the doors wide open, filling up the country with people who can afford to buy a house, who are prepared to do whatever job requires to be done, even if they don't have the skills to back it or drive it forward or turn it around or do anything like that. even if they're coming to live in Sydney and work out of their native country by phone. Hello? Didn't Telstra, and this is, I mean, I'm going to use Telstra as an example, but there are so many other big companies who've done this. Didn't they sack all their Australian workers in their Australian call centres to put that work out into the Philippines, India, Sri Lanka, variety of other places around the world where they didn't have to pay nearly as much money and got twice as many people to do the work? How does that work when those people now take advantage of the Australian government's largesse and they accept a ticket to Australia and a house in Parramatta? They don't have to give their job up. They're still working for Telstra in India via the phone, but they happen to be living in Parramatta. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. And I've got a little more carried away than I probably wanted to, but it is what it is. And they're going to try and take cash away. Don't leave this bullshit. The RBA boss makes a big cash call. The Reserve Bank Governor, Michelle Bullock, has declared cash essential and vowed it would remain supported as an option for Australians as long as they wanted to use it. Now, she didn't actually say it would be accepted everywhere. She just said it's still going to be an option. And that's exactly what the lying, cheating, filthy fucks in Labor have said as well. You'll be able to use it up to $500 in a supermarket, in a service station. Places where you can get essentials, milk, bread. That's it. You won't be able to use it anywhere else. I know truck drivers that pay for fuel when they're traveling across the country in cash. All right? They're going to pay $3,000, $4,000 in cash because they get paid in cash, some of them. And if they've got themselves at the end of a job and they get paid in cash and they need that money to put the fuel in the friggin' truck to get home, then guess what? It goes in the fuel paid in cash. Now, if you happen to be stuck up a road in the middle of nowhere somewhere and there isn't a bank anymore, the bloke says, oh, I've only got cash, mate, there's your cash. You can't put that cash in a bank because all the friggin' banks are closed. They don't operate anymore. That's because they're helping us by streamlining the service. So you find yourself up a dirt road with $4,000 in your pocket and nowhere to spend it to put fuel in your rig to get home. Do not accept the digital ID, folks. It will be the death of cash. Do not ever accept from a business that they do not accept cash. If that business does not accept cash, do not do business with that business. And I know at times that can be a pain in the ass. In fact, I had that happen to me a matter of 2 weeks ago. I was looking for a part for the bus and we've got that. And it was a few $100s. And I went to hand them cash. Oh, no, we don't take cash. I said, what do you mean you don't take cash? Oh, no, we don't accept cash, just card only. I said, doesn't your boss trust you? And this woman looked at me like, what? I said, does he think you're a thief? Have you got thieves working for you here? No. I said, well, why wouldn't you take cash? Oh, it's just that we've got no way to store it. I said, you've got a fucking drawer, don't you? Yeah. Well, put it in the drawer. Stick it in an envelope. Put it in your boss's wallet and tell the prick to go to the bank. Needless to say, I didn't buy what I needed there. But I made it very clear, both there and on their website, that until they accept cash, I would encourage nobody to shop with them. I don't think they care. I don't think businesses care. Although they do get a bit snotty when you do a Google review on them. So my advice to you folks is don't get upright, yelly and nasty in the store, because unlike me, you probably aren't prepared to protect yourself in that way, in that regard. And I make a hell of a noise. Go and do a Google review. If you find a business that will not accept cash, give them the lowest marking and give them a rocket up their ring in the comment. If businesses think they can stop the people from using cash, make them think again. And when this starts, and maybe it has already started, and I haven't even spoken to Vince about this, but I want to start a register of businesses that do not accept cash. And then we're going to start promoting those businesses to themselves rather broadly. But you will always have access to that. And if you're in a town somewhere, we will give you a list of the businesses that will not accept your cash. As long as you can help provide us those business details, which will be easy to do. We'll set up an email address for it. But yeah, that's a bit of what we need to do going forward. And these horrible, horrible, horrible liars that sit there and stare into a camera, pretend they're doing the right thing for this country, and just tell lies. Like, oh yeah, renewables are going to save you 20%, be the cheapest electricity you've ever had. And our power's gone up 23.6% in 8 months. And it's showing no signs of slowing down. All your rebates will be gone across this nation by June, end of June next year. Then the true cost of power will become very clear to everybody. And like that bunch of leftards in Sydney, you won't be able to defray that electricity cost with gas. A lot cheaper, in theory, although gas has gone up as well. But they're forcing you now in Sydney to build everything electric. Electric. Because it's going to save the country. Jesus. It's not going to do any such friggin' thing. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple of things last night. They're probably still not relevant, not as relevant as they once were. But this in particular was a meeting I thought everybody should take notice of when it happened in Japan yesterday.
Of the fact that he is going to be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in just a few days from now.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful image, and this is a demonstration of presidential power. When the president travels overseas and meets with our most important adversaries like China, as well as our key allies like Japan, it's a powerful demonstration of the power that our country holds.
Now, that's Trump meeting the Emperor of Japan. The Emperor of Japan. Trump was manhandling the Emperor of Japan. A little later in that clip, he's walking inside. He puts his arm around him. He's guiding him, showing him around. This is not the acts of a man who is being led. This is a man who is out front doing the leading. And doing that with the Japanese Emperor, given all of the pomp, all of the ceremony, all of the cultural history that goes on with Japanese ceremony. Do you think that was right? I think what's happening at the moment, and has been happening for the last little while, as Trump is running around telling world leaders exactly what's happening. I'm very hopeful that in the next week and a bit, we should start seeing some fairly significant movement when it comes to indictments and arrests. And in fact, John Podesta it's claimed will be one of the first arrests made in early November. And that will be a trigger for something that comes next. Now, that something that comes next will have a lot to do with global arrests, apparently. It'll also have a lot to do with the global financial market, which is going to, from all intents and purposes, have another cough, splutter, and possibly fall over and do all the things that we've been hoping it was going to do for a long time. But as with anything, dates is not something I'm really keen to give you. Just watch out for November, and I reckon we'll be saying at the end of November, well, wasn't that a nice month? I hope not. I pray that we start seeing things in a public sense that you and I can really sink our teeth into and agree and acknowledge that, yes, maybe things are actually happening. And I know that things are actually happening in Australia because there are some immensely intelligent people who are getting out and about and starting to make all sorts of interesting videos, including this wonderful.
So a lot of people like to go on about, white privilege, white fellas, they get all this privilege and stuff like that. And one thing I just need to say about that is, see my ear? It's swollen, okay, my earlobe. Painful. So I rang after hours, they texted me the script, they put CTG on there, and I went up and got their prescription pronto for free. And I've seen a lot of white people lining up, paying for theirs. So, what white privilege? Is it only me that can't see it?
It's our white privilege. We get to pay. That's how good it is. And I don't begrudge anybody who doesn't have to pay. I just want to know why I have to pay, why you have to pay. I mean, why can't we all not pay? We've been talking about surveillance in this program for years and the various different ways that they have been surveilling us, from the multiple cameras mounted on poles, every other pole down our main streets, to the more covert ways that they do it with little spy cams inside businesses that they can access and all sorts of other things. Well, turns out there's going to be some new ways for them to help us, not spy on us, help us. It will keep us safe. They are going to be doing all of these things for our benefit, folks. It's going to keep us safe and will make everything, our community, so much more livable. If only you would allow them to install this little thing on your roof.
The concept of drone as first responder is that you will be able to send drones in the first instance as soon as a call comes in order to give us an understanding of what's going on in the ground. These drones will be deployed from boxes that are situated across rooftops, and they're deployable at a moment's notice. Once deployed, they should be getting overhead within about 90 to 120 seconds. The camera will...
And they will watch everything you do. They will hear everything that you do. Now, I can hear a lot of people saying, well, that's not such a bad thing, if you've got thugs cruising around the streets with machetes, and not that that's happening anywhere in Victoria at the moment, I'm sure, because everybody handed their machete in, didn't they? Yeah, they did. No crime happening in Victoria, but when they do manage to get the no crime in Victoria under control, what other sorts of control will they be able to exhibit with drones? Now, I can tell you, having had a bit of experience with drones, and a few years ago looked into starting a security company using drones. In fact, I looked at being able to fly, not quadcopters, but actual aircraft type drones between Brisbane, Gold Coast, be able to do everything from traffic reports to surveilling speeding cars and associated other bits and pieces. More static drones that could be used over things like car yards, which were being relentlessly keyed at the time, cars being keyed and all that kind of stuff. It can all be done. We could do that 15 years ago. What we could do today with the drones of today are a lot more interesting. And the level of surveillance is a lot deeper. So, Queensland is one of the trial states. I'm not sure if it's happening in other states, but certainly the southeast corner, and particularly the southern region of Brisbane, is alive with drone technology. In fact, you can get stuff delivered to your house through Amazon and their drone, or Google and their drone service in the southern regions of Brisbane at the moment. And people get very excited. You know, they all race out onto their lawn and look up. And I've got to say, it's the most sickening thing to watch, because the mum who's, you know, too fat and lazy to get off her ass and go and organise lunch for her children rings it up and gets it delivered by drone. And what does she do? Well, at least she gets off her fat ass and gets her kids off their asses, at least into the front yard, so we can all gather around and look up at the food being delivered to us. Salvation cometh from the sky. They're being trained. You're being trained if you're accepting this as a great way to get shit to your place. Very shortly, the next pandemic maybe, you will get everything delivered by drone. You'll get it 4 days after you order it, or 10 days after you order it, because there won't be enough drones to get the orders to you in time, but they'll fix that problem too. The world is turning into a very ugly, frightening place. And it's not going to change unless people like you and I convince more people to become like you and I. And when we have the right amount of people like you and I, then we'll hit the roads, folks. And if there is a dickhead on that road, they better watch out.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!